All right. So, I have a couple of upcoming events that I want to share with you quickly. So, our next webinar will be January 28th. Here's a QR code. These are also all available on the Chamber's website. I'll drop them into the chat as well. But so, our next webinar topic is going to be mastering inventory for mega events. So, if you're a small business and you're expecting this influx of customers, but you don't want to over order, and you want to be smart about what you're stocking up on, this is for you. We'll have folks from Amazon and a small business who has done this in the past to talk with us. We also then on February 3rd will have a webinar that's going to dive into our mega event playbook and be workshop style. So there will be breakout rooms. You can focus on the area of the playbook that you want to dive into with the experts. And then our first in-person event in this series I'm really excited about is going to be Wednesday, February 11th. That's going to be a networking matchmaking event. So when you register for the event, it's free, just like the webinars and open to anybody. When you register for the event, you'll be prompted to tell us what services you're seeking and or what services you're offering, and then we'll help facilitate those conversations with everyone when they show up day of. So if you are a marketing company, you would note that in your registration, and maybe there's a small business near the stadiums that doesn't have a marketing person in-house and is really curious how they can amp up their social media leading up to the World Cup, something like that. So we'll put you in the same space together and let you all make those connections with each other. So excited about that. Go ahead and mark your calendar. And then this is the resource page that I mentioned a moment ago that has recordings from all of our webinars. It has links to all of the different playbooks that the organizations in Seattle have put out. It has a chat bot that is being fed all of this information so it can have a pretty smart conversation with you. Just go check it out. It's kind of where we're hosting all of these resources. With that, I'm going to kick it over to Lynnette Buffington, who is Chief of Staff at the Chamber and our in-house World Cup guru, and she will lead the program from here.
All right. Thanks, Lee. I appreciate it. And thanks for sharing those resources at the top. We will talk about them again, but there's a lot going on. The speakers and I were in a practice session before, and we really were excited because it's getting real. Things are happening. So we can feel the pace and the excitement quickening. So I want to thank you all for being here this morning. One of my favorite things about these webinars is looking in the attendee list and seeing old friends and names in there, current friends, but people I haven't talked to in a long time. So thank you for coming today and joining us. This is one of many monthly webinars that we've been hosting designed specifically for our business community as we prepare for one of the most significant events in our region's history, the FIFA World Cup 2026. If you follow the Chamber's World Cup Ready newsletter, as Lee mentioned, we hit a huge milestone yesterday. The Small Business Mega Event Playbook is live. Our research page is hosting it, but there are other ways to get access to trainings, and Lee went all over all of that. So we're very excited. But we're talking about a different playbook. You've been hearing about playbooks forever, so there's a lot in the ecosystem, and we're talking about a little bit different one today. So, as part of our commitment to the business readiness and resilience, the Seattle Metro Chamber is proud to convene this series to help local businesses and organizations and municipalities harness the opportunities that come with hosting a global event of this magnitude. The Chamber has been deeply engaged in World Cup planning by serving as a statewide business liaison and working closely with partners across the sectors to ensure our region is not only ready but thrives with the opportunity. This morning's session focuses on the updated Game Watch playbook created by the Seattle Sports Commission, specifically best practices for planning and promoting World Cup watch parties, creative activation ideas that engage fans and local businesses, partnership opportunities to elevate your event and amplify impact, and in general, how your community can be part of a coordinated statewide World Cup experience. Whether you're a small shop in downtown Edmonds or a sandwich shop in Yakima, this is your moment to connect with the global stage. We're thrilled to be joined by our friends at Seattle Sports Commission who have been working on this product since last spring, summer. And back in October, we hosted them for the first volume of this playbook, but there was still a lot more to come. And they'll talk about the difference between what was released in the fall and what's different now. This playbook has been one of the most asked about playbooks. As we're going to get into what it takes to watch a game and all those things. So today they bring us the most updated playbook, and we know that the wait we've had to endure will be well worth it. So let's dive in. I'd like to welcome Eric Corning, the project director at Seattle Sports Commission, and Griffin Idelman, marketing and communications manager at the Seattle Sports Commission. Gentlemen, the floor is yours, and I will fade into the background. I'll come back and do Q&A in a little bit. So just make sure you put stuff in the Q&A, not in the chat. Thanks.
Lynnette, thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to share the Watch Party Playbook. We have know so many more things now than we did even just this past fall, and we fully expect there'll be some more changes that happen between now and FIFA. So we will continue to update this playbook and keep copies of this not only at our website at the Seattle Sports Commission, but also at this is reflected with Visit Seattle and also the Seattle Metro Chamber. So. Just want to give Griffin an opportunity to be able to say hello here before we get started.
Thanks, Eric, and thanks, Lynette and Leah. Excited to be here for everyone. I know that there's still more information to come, and it really is such a Team Seattle effort. We want to make the best impression on the global stage, and we want to set the standard for many events to come in the future. When Women's World Cup, Rugby World Cup, all those different events coming around, we want to be able to use this and say, hey, look at what an amazing job our city, our state did, and kind of provide that as proof points for getting more and more events like this to come in the future. So excited to share some stuff with y'all today.
Perfect. Thanks, Griffin. So this playbook I'm going to share with you this morning, this is really the high level version of this, be able to share some resources that are within the playbook. But if you'll need to download the actual playbook from the website that has the links directly to FIFA and their various pages where you can actually go apply for or be able to ask FIFA questions directly. So let's get started. See if it'll let me get started. Here we go. So briefly, we're going to do an overview of the World Cup playbook. We're going to talk about the Watch Party playbook specifically around licensing and expectations and best practices, some creative activation ideas, partnership opportunities, resources for small businesses and other organizations, and then questions. So we'll just keep moving here. Washington, welcome to the world. So this event, as many of you know, this is a generational event that the World Cup doesn't come to the United States, let alone North America, very often. And having it be able to come to Seattle is a really special thing. And being able to bring communities together through a sport like soccer that is so universal all around the world, you will find that there are folks in your community that may have emigrated from other parts of the world where soccer is a much bigger deal to them than it is to you, and thinking about those communities as you create watch parties or create opportunities to bring communities together, I think is really a special thing that we can all rally around. So the tournament in and of itself, FIFA World Cup 2026, it starts on June 11th and through July 19th, 2026. So I believe that's 39 days. There's 48 teams in the tournament. These are countries all over the planet. There's 104 total matches that'll be played across 16 host cities. And it's the world's largest spectator event. This event attracts more fans and viewers than the Super Bowl or Olympics. So on that scale, we expect to Seattle and Western Washington to be able to have an influx of folks from all over the world to be able to come be a part of this, given that we're 2.5, 3 hours from Vancouver, which has 7 matches in their market, that we will have a ton of people in town to be able to be part of this, in addition to the folks who live here. Our host cities, again, Vancouver and Toronto are the 2 Canadian cities. And then the Mexican side, it's Monterrey, Guadalajara, and Mexico City. You can see that Seattle and Vancouver are probably are the 2 closest West Coast cities for folks to be able to fly in and be able to have World Cup experiences within a driving distance of each other. But it's these games are intentionally spread across 3 countries, which has never been done before. The match dates at Seattle Stadium. So the folks at you'll see in all the official FIFA information that they've renamed Lumen Field to be Seattle Stadium. On the 15th is Belgium versus Egypt, and take a look at the start time. It is noon. The same with on the 19th is the U.S. men's team versus Australia at noon. That is on oh my gosh, Griffin, can you help me here? This is the day
Juneteenth.
this is on. Juneteenth day. Thank you. I skipped ahead to the to the Pride games there in my head. Again, looking at those first three games start at noon. Egypt versus Iran on the 26th is at 8 p.m. And then the last two games are really about the tournament. And that if you've made it to the round, you're the one of the last 32 teams. And if you win that game, you'll move on to the round of 16. And if you lose, you're out. So my next page, I don't want you to squint and try to be able to read this match schedule. I put some white lines up of where Seattle was, and those are basically here. They're mapped out where the 6 games are that are happening in Seattle at Lumen Field. If you look at the rest of this, you can see on each of the days there are multiple games that are happening each day across multiple different cities. And so if you're hosting a watch party, you don't necessarily have to only show Seattle's games, and that you can go look through the tournament to be able to go find games that, say, the Korean Association reached out to us this past fall and asked about who they could partner with to be able to have be able to host when they were having games of South Korea versus whomever, that they could come and have a significant South Korean population come together. And when that population comes together, be able to bring together some culture and food and music and other elements of this, of like, what can we add to a watch party to be able to make that work. So again, each of these little postage stamps here represent a game that's happening on a specific day. FIFA will have more information and other ways we can see this information about what times and whatnot the games are being played. But please don't think of it as just 6 Seattle games. It's actually 104 games across the entire tournament. And then again, just thinking of being able to theme a watch parties with the actual countries that are in the tournament. Again, this could change game by game for you, or you could focus on one or multiple countries here. But this is a representation of most of the countries that are in the tournament. So, public watch parties. This photo here is from Rio de Janeiro when they had the World Cup down there, and that is not what we're talking about today. That is something that FIFA spent millions of dollars on and had this really amazing thing. We're talking about watch parties that happen in your community, and think of them like a community event. They could happen in schools, they can happen in parks, they can happen in your pub or your restaurant, or in many other businesses. So. There's really only 3 things required to be able to host one of these watch parties: obtaining the FIFA Watch Party TV license, securing the venue and all the necessary local permits, and then using your creative names and descriptions. Your marketing can't use any of the FIFA trademarked IP. So here's some examples from Club World Cup that was here this last summer. This is down in Pioneer Square, where we put out a small stage and had a video screen behind it. This is a DJ that was in the International District with some artwork to be able to do some Instagram with. You could also, if you're adjacent to areas where there's turf, and be able to make soccer tournaments or be able to do some youth sports pieces alongside of it. And the third one here is, or the fourth one here is the DSA in downtown Seattle in Westlake Park, where they held watch parties, and they plan to do this again this summer. So things that you can attach to your public watch party, very common: beer and wine gardens, having food and drinks from the companies that are competing, being able to have gifts and door prizes. The city of Redmond really leaned into the gifts and door prizes in addition to celebrity appearances. And we're very surprised that they had more than 500 people show up for 2 of the Club World Cup games that they were hosting, using flags and banners from the countries, but not using the ones that are like FIFA graphics of that represent those countries, and also having a DJ, an MC, some local music, again, to be able to help carry through the event before and after. So you may have heard there are 9 fan zones across the state. So the Seattle Local Organizing Committee has been working with these communities across the state to be able to create fan zones, which basically anything from watching matches to be able to create places to be able to play soccer and be able to really get into the World Cup fever. And this is an effort to be able to make sure that we didn't just have World Cup activations just in Seattle, that we spread the wealth across the state. Of course, Seattle Center will also feature live broadcasts and have a celebration at Seattle Center. Again, this is a artist rendition vision of what that would look like. I don't have any details on what it'll actually look like that day, but I love this photo, so I had to include it. So again, community impact of whose community that we're bringing together through sport, whether they're people who are related to your businesses, whether the people related to your community and that they are residents there, people you're trying to be able to attract from out of town, joining for watch parties and be able to have live matches, authentic food, music, cultural experiences, and really connecting and celebrating with the friends and neighbors. And again, when I think about what's possible with this, and if I was that 8-year-old kid who remembers, way back when the World Cup came to Seattle in 2026. And I remember in our community, there was a thing where, my parents had us down and we watched soccer on a big screen somewhere and we got to do some cool activities and whatnot. And it was one of those formative moments and whatnot. And that's our opportunity, is to really have an impact on the community. So I'm going to get a little into the nuts and bolts here. I'm going to slow down a little bit because this gets a little bit of FIFA legalese. But this is the FIFA public viewing platform. That's what they call the place where we're going to get the licenses to be able that we'll need to be able to do a watch party. When you fill out the form, they're basically looking for some basic things from you: contact information, your organization name, some estimated attendance, and having more than 1,000 people makes a difference. I'll show you here in just a minute. Your sponsorship plans and your ticketing plans. Whether you have no sponsors planned and no ticketing plans, it's free to the public. We just need to say so, and that will affect which kind of license that you'll get from FIFA. So the licenses, you're basically coming into 3 license categories. So commercial events, the non-commercial events, and the special non-commercial events. And really the difference between a non-commercial and a special non-commercial is you have more than 1,000 spectators. The commercial event, having admissions, having sponsorship, one or both of those will put you in that commercial event category. The non-commercial public viewing, this is the one where you may actually be eligible for this, even though that you are a commercial business. So if you're a restaurant, hotel, pub, club, bar, and you're still be considered non-commercial public viewings if it's part of your establishment's ordinary course of business. If you usually have televisions on with sports or have televisions up in your establishment, and also that you have no direct or indirect admission fees or sponsorship activities. Again, a good example of an indirect admission is if you made it a requirement that you had to go have a coffee cup from the coffee shop at the end of the block, and if you have that coffee cup in your hand, you can come in and be able to. That's your ticket to be able to come into the event. That's an indirect admission fee. Even though you didn't charge them any admission directly, that's the piece that FIFA would make you ineligible for this version of this license. Common question we have right now is how much do these things cost? And the calculation is based on a number of things: of spectator capacity, whether you have sponsors, whether you have an admission fee, and where you're at. And so the folks at FIFA don't have a grid for me to be able to pop into this presentation to be able to say it's going to be X amount of dollars. So the application for the license or being able to reach out to them directly via their email address are 2 ways to be able to talk about your situation specifically. The non-commercial public viewing events, again, I pulled this right out of their licensing piece. It says, despite not requiring a formal public viewing event license, are conditional upon the exhibitor's full compliance with these FIFA regulations and public viewing events. So if you have a non-commercial public viewing license, you will still need to follow the rules. The media rights, again, this is they cover when you get this license, it covers all 104 matches. And so the fees again vary by venue and capacity in your specific situations. The non-commercial events need no formal license but must follow all the FIFA regulations. And then the sponsorship rules are non-commercial events can include any sponsors, and then commercial events, FIFA wants to know what your plans are for sponsorship, and they may reject your request for a commercial sponsorship or a commercial license fee if the sponsors you have are competitive with their global sponsors. Again, they're looking for the local sponsors to be local, and there is about 1,000 ways to be able to talk about their large commercial sponsors, but that's who they're trying to be able to connect. In all cases, the sponsors that from your events can't appear to be affiliated with FIFA. Like that's a large no-no, and we'll get you some attention from the FIFA police. The broadcast is going to be on Fox Sports and Telemundo in the United States, and basically the rules are you'd start the video coverage 20 minutes before kickoff, and then at least 10 minutes after the match ends, so they can get any sort of opening ceremony elements, and then 10 minutes after the match ends. If you're watching back-to-back matches during the day, then obviously you're going to flip from one match to the next, and of whatever we get from finishing the first one. All right. This is the FIFA's rules about what we cannot do. So as businesses, we can't use any of FIFA's intellectual property or be able to say any sort of official sponsorship or endorsement. We can't use any images and designs like player likenesses, national team jerseys, anything that is a FIFA mark and makes anything that suggests you have an official association with FIFA. You can't sell, gift, or contest merchandise or tickets to the FIFA, use any of their words or branding. And then the last piece is in advertising, individuals can watch the FIFA World Cup here. We can't say that. So FIFA's been pretty specific about what we can and can't say. Our folks over at Visit Seattle have actually created a branding guide of things what we can use and what we can do with this, intended for businesses to be able to use for free all across the state. We'll show you that here in just a couple minutes. After they got done telling us about all the things we could not say, they did say that we could use the event title FIFA World Cup 26 TM, standard font on your to inform the public of like this is the event that's happening and be able to talk about the time and the place. So you can't say that you're with FIFA or that it's about you, but you can use the words FIFA World Cup 26 TM in order to help explain to the public you're having a watch party and this is where it is. Unless, and because I love the rules, there are if you're a single brand sports and retail store, so if you're the Adidas store or the Nike store, you can't. If you're a brewery, you can't, because Anheuser-Busch is their official beer. Restaurants and airports. So all of this just says these 4 categories can't use the words FIFA World Cup 26 TM. They just need to follow all the rest of the rules. So things that we can do. We can welcome with country flags, theme food displays, use generic soccer imagery. You can sell merchandise with country flags and general soccer imagery without using FIFA World Cup 26. Just want to make a quick note here on the merchandise. The folks over at Visit Seattle made all of these fantastic branded items, and they show examples of it being used as merchandise. In order to be able to have that merchandise made with your company and the branding pieces that Visit Seattle created, you have to go through Visit Seattle and their merchandiser to ensure that the quality of those items are high. So again, Jorge and the team over there at Visit Seattle would be able to help you if you were looking to do something specific using their graphics on merchandise. Again, showing matches on your existing screens is part of normal service, and then utilizing the free community playbook. And we'll show you here. I'll have Griffin will share here with you in a minute about what that is. So resources. This is something we've been working with as a team here at the Seattle Sports Commission. We've also been working with Visit Seattle and the Metro Chamber and the local organizing committee, the City of Seattle. All sorts of people have come together to be able to help create resources for small businesses and folks that are looking to be able to produce one of these watch parties, as well as all the other things that come with having a World Cup in your city. So the folks at Seattle Public Utilities came up with this is just a flyer that's included in the guide for a zero waste watch parties and ways that you can strategize and think about how to be able to minimize the waste at each of your watch parties. There are 3 community playbooks that are created for small businesses and others to looking to be able to put on a watch party. There's the Watch Party Playbook put together by the Seattle Sports Commission. Visit Seattle put together the Community Brand Guide, and the Seattle Metro Chamber has just launched their World Cup Ready Business resource. So we will again, we'll share a little bit more about the Community Brand Guide. I'm gonna see. Let me know if we can hear this audio and the video here.
No audio, Eric, but I think the message is getting across. Don't worry.
So I'm going to let Griffin go from here. Griffin, I will just go through the slides here where we have examples of the brand guidelines. But this is, again, work of Visit Seattle, and Griffin is our marketing guru on our end of things. So Griffin, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. I really think that you did a perfect job of setting me up there, and I think that Visit Seattle has done an excellent job with these. So I always like to say too, I'm not Visit Seattle. I don't want to speak for them, but we've worked closely with Jorge and with Lynnette, and we're kind of looking at it as Team Seattle almost, where we're all going to work together to provide these resources and make it so that no one has to worry about, oh shoot, am I allowed to say the soccer match? Am I allowed to say FIFA match? What can I say? What can I not say? Instead of trying to, oh, what if I just put a soccer ball? What if I do just like a picture of Lumen or Seattle Stadium, if you will? Visit Seattle put together this Visit Seattle community branding playbook. And it's a way for all of us across the entire state, essentially, to have one specific kind of brand, look, feel, and then that way you don't have to worry about breaking any of those IP boundaries that they have. So what you're seeing here is actually when you go to the Visit Seattle website, or when you click on the link through our site or the link through the Metro Chamber website, it'll take you to this page where you just put in your information, your name, your email, and you'll be sent this community branding playbook where you can download all of these assets and use them as your own to essentially advertise for the World Cup. You want to be able to draw people in, you can use these and you can advertise. This is a perfect example of put your headline, put your subhead, you can put your logo in that little bottom left corner. And that way people know that you're welcoming visitors, you're welcoming people to participate. And it sounds corny, but I've tried to get people to think about it as if Taylor Swift was coming to town again with her Eras tour. I know that she kicked it off here in Seattle. So at the time, we didn't really know how big it was going to be. And then by the very last concert, when you would look at a city, the city would transform and it would have pop-up, bracelet making stations. It'd have all the streets would be named after the different albums. So while they have their albums and they have the songs, we have the teams and we have the matches. So kind of think about it that way. I know it's a little bit corny to say, but that's been a way that it's kind of clicked for me, if you will. And it's just a really nice free resource. So that way you're not breaking any of those IP. Not that we're worried that, FIFA is going to come knocking on the door, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Erica, and I think if you go to the next one, I know it's kind of all the different accounts. And the local organizing committee has put together all these different social media handles. they'll want you tagging them on those social media handles. They're going to be amplifying us at the Sports Commission. We're going to be amplifying. If you're hosting a watch party, we want to know about it. Eric, I might be jumping ahead here,
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
I just think it's really important that we work on amplifying each other, because when we can all come together and make the city look good, it'll just be great for moving forward and kind of taking advantage of this once in a lifetime event to bring more once in a lifetime events here. And I'm going to be putting a link in the chat where you can find all three of the playbooks. The new one that the chamber just released yesterday, the most up-to-date version of our watch party playbook will live on there. And that's where Eric has alluded to all of the links and everything that you want to click on to get through that portal where you can sign up to get the license. It's all in that most up-to-date watch party playbook. And then also you can just get to the Visit Seattle Community Branding playbook from there as well.
Great. Thanks, Griffin.
Yeah.
So I think you really did a nice job summing this up, and I wanted to make sure we left plenty of time for questions on the back end, because there's plenty of those to go around when we talk about doing this. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so that we can come back and we can all see each other.
All right. Thank you so much, both Eric and Griffin. The Q&A box is hot. We got a lot of questions, not hot in a temperature, but it is a place to be. So some of these you've answered, and but they bear repeating, and people are coming and going from the webinar actively. So here's one that I think is going to come up more and more. Is there any restriction on location proximity to an official fan zone? So we have fan zones across the state,
Hmm.
and then we have fan fests, and
Hmm.
each fan zone county has a fan fest. Tell us a little bit about the nuance of those words that I've just said, and
Yes.
maybe like the geographic limitations.
So there was actually there as all the way through a good part of this winter, there were geographic limitations, and my understanding those have been lifted. So they never existed for any of the events happening all around the state. There was some concern about having ones that were adjacent to the Seattle Center, and
Mhm.
again that has been lifted. So and those were for public events that you would need to that you would have needed to get a permit from the city of Seattle for. If it was just inside your business and it was normal course of business, there was
Mhm.
no city of Seattle permit to get. But at this point, geographic restrictions have been lifted.
That's great news. Great
Yeah.
news. There's the non-commercial language of FIFA has a broad statement prohibiting quote unquote other commercial activities. What does that mean? Can we have food trucks near our viewing area?
Yeah, that's a great question. We actually have a few pages on this in the guide that talk about this. The answer is yes on the food trucks. They just want to make sure that if you it would be considered a commercial sponsorship if all of your food trucks had Coca-Cola menu boards, across all of them, and you were trying to make them all into this. But be able to bring in food trucks to be able to come into your event, and that you make a percentage off of them or you charge them a fee, not a problem
Mhm.
at all.
Great. Um, so if your bar signs up for a non-commercial watch party, what does FIFA do for you?
That's a great question in that license. So you have again we've talked about the things you can do, but FIFA is not there. They you get a license for being able to show all 104 games or some subset of them, but FIFA does not have like a marketing rollout anything that I'm aware of that they're sending to you, because they don't want us to use their graphics. So this is where we're leaning into Visit Seattle and utilizing those graphics to be able to be something that looks that across the state of Washington, we all have a similar look and feel that isn't official FIFA graphics.
Great. And that branding can be used statewide. Okay, I'm going to cluster three questions. Um, the difference between a commercial and non-commercial viewing party, but and does everyone hosting a watch party need to purchase a license? And what is the cost of that license? And
Yeah.
is it a per game or a full cup?
So it is you'll be purchasing all 104 games when you get your license. There is not a single game license that I'm aware of, or just the Seattle Games license that I'm aware of. The 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 cost of these, it kind of gets into this. It all depends of how many people do you have in your venue. Do you have less than thousand, more than 1,000? And do you have sponsorship, and what levels of their sponsorship are they? And also the location of where you're at. Is this part of your normal course of business? Like, did you expand out into the street, or is it just your restaurant and typically what you do? So there is no grid that I have that tells you like, oh, if you're within this range, it's going to cost this much. FIFA set that up intentionally, so I don't have any pricing specifically to share, other than I know that that's how they're deciding how much to charge, are based on some of those elements.
Okay. All right, so we do have companies that are not hospitality. I'm going to say a consulting firm, a law firm, a CPA firm, a chamber of commerce, if you
Mhm.
will. And they have employees, is what is the most important thing. What if those employers want to just host a private party for their employees as a team activity? Does this fall under any category if I can stream on my Xfinity account in my office a game and I want to bring my staff together and bring food in, do I have to notify anybody I'm doing besides HR that I'm doing that?
So, yes, well, HR first,
Yeah,
but so there is no licensing required for doing this at home. And so, you want to be able to have your own party and be able to have it at your own house and be able to have people over. That there's no charge for that. I don't have any wording that tells me about like, oh, if we're doing this in an office for 70 people and we have TVs in the office and we're doing it for our department or whatnot. I don't have any guidance on that, other than I'm very doubtful that you're not doing any sort of outward public
right.
trying to be able to get people to come to your event and whatnot, that FIFA would, and there's hardly any way for them to know. And you're not bringing in an admission fee. You're not having a sponsorship because it's your company that is being able to do this. So for the most part, you're following similar rules to what the home version of this is. But again, they don't have a specific license that I know of for I'm just having an office party. And again, I suspect that they would never know anyway.
Okay. We did have a question on specific industries. The question is to confirm wineries are allowed to use the name FIFA World Cup 26 trademark.
Mhm.
Um, is that accurate? And now, is it just wineries, or can you expand again on using the full name with the trademark text?
Yeah, so it is the four categories: the restaurants, I have to go back to my slide there to be able to see all four of them, but here we go. So it was airports, restaurants, breweries, and single branded retail stores. Again, this is an effort for FIFA to be able to go protect their sponsors, that they're not competing with someone who looks like they're having FIFA World Cup 26 and having that association with them. So not only that you use the words in a plain font that was telling people in this way, but you also did not make your graphic design look like that you were an official FIFA sponsor in any way.
Mhm. And I think I know the answer to this, but there's really no hack, if you will, on using certain parts of the formal name of FIFA. We can't just say FIFA, we can't say just say World Cup by itself.
Yeah.
FIFA World Cup 26 trademark. So there's no splitting the baby, as we like to say on this. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, just
Okay.
using World Cup, just using FIFA tournament. No, soccer is an okay word in all of this, and there's lots of
Mhm.
creativity around here. And you'll see the way that the Visit Seattle has. Again, we showed you some of the graphics. They have a whole language section and voice and other pieces in there where they have advice on how to be able to help name your events and to help keep you out of FIFA jail.
Yeah, because when we as Team Seattle have come up with this term FIFA jail, and we haven't really ever talked about what it means, but people certainly respond to it. What is FIFA jail? What could
Well,
happen to a business?
okay, so 2 years ago, again, this is an anecdotal piece. the folks in Bellingham were looking to have a FIFA something coordinator for World Cup coordinator for their city because they knew they're right on the cusp of
The
Vancouver
border.
and
Yeah.
whatnot to be able to go do those things. And FIFA, through AI or whatever other means, reached out to them and said, "Hey, you can't call yourselves World Cup in your job title." And whatnot. And again, it was FIFA's lawyers and be able to go make an ask and whatnot from there. So
Mhm.
the similar to what we see with the NFL or the NBA or other sports leagues, when the NFL has the Super Bowl and they have been sticklers on other people not being able to use the Super Bowl, and we use the big game or we use all sorts of other euphemisms around it.
Mhm.
We know what we're talking about there. We expect FIFA to have similar folks out in the community and out to be able to watch for people that are making it look like that their business is an official sponsor or makes themselves look official in that way. I would expect them to reach out first and then move forward from there. But there's no defined like your first strike is this and your second strike is that. No, it's just this is really the folks from FIFA, their marketing teams, and
Mhm.
whomever else is looking out for them while the tournament's happening at 16 cities across the country.
Yep, they're monitoring it. And you use the term IP, and I'm just going to level set. That's intellectual property when we talk about that. So it's again exactly what Eric said. We can't say the Super Bowl, but we can say the big game. FIFA doesn't own the term watch party, do they?
No, they did not.
Right.
And
So
and
if
they
I
and they call
have
them public viewing parties, which again they don't own that either.
They don't own that. So
Yeah.
if I have a restaurant that already shows sports on TV, I have the appropriate existing cable subscription. To, I don't need to apply for a permit, and I could also put on my social that I am hosting game watches, and there's games menu specials associated with the game and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah. Based on that language of like because you're a commercial that non-commercial license said you didn't have to apply for a license. That was in there was in their exact wording. It's a great place to be able to say, look, we followed all of the rules, we followed all of the elements of this thing. If you're concerned, you can always, or you figure that you have something slightly different from that, you can always reach out to FIFA using their email address and talk to the folks in there in their licensing. They want to engage in this conversation.
Great. We've got a lot of questions still, so I'm just going to try to get on theme here. Um, okay, so are there any recommendations or minimum specs if you decide to do an outdoor viewing party with LED screens, illumins, and anything like that? So those big
Mhm.
screens, projection requirements, quality control, right, by FIFA. Any
Yeah,
negotiated vendors for renting large screens or anything like that? I don't know
yeah.
if you guys are going to talk about host a bank of potential vendors or anything like that.
Mm. Oh, go ahead, Griffin.
Yeah.
So I do believe, from my understanding, that's one of the efforts of the LOC, the local organizing committee. They'll be putting together a list of all the businesses that just want to get involved in some way, whether that's
Mhm.
a vendor for the big screen that you want to get, whether it's a food truck, or kind of like you said earlier, that marketing firm who might want to be able to help. I know that y'all are doing something for that as well,
Yeah.
Net, but
Yeah, we're doing a matchmaking event. That might be the place.
yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, so some of the earliest questions we got when we started hosting these webinars was, how do I do business with FIFA? And I think
Mhm.
we've explained to folks, FIFA is not your future business partner, and the LOC's business partnerships, a local organizing committee, those are limited. Your business partner here, your opportunity here is your neighboring business, is a existing business in Seattle that does big screens and big presentations or something like that. So it sounds like the LOC might be hosting a list of potential businesses. We're doing a matchmaking event, so those are some places to connect. But the technical specs, it sounds like might be TBD on that, Griffin.
So, well, the technical piece to it is I mean, we're watching Fox in 1080p. So
Yes.
it's your standard television, a hookup is what you're going to get from that. The folks
Mhm.
who put up those large LED screens and whatnot, they have all the technology to be able to go take in that signal. But basically, you're pulling your signal from Fox or Telemundo, and are those coming into you through a laptop, and that you're pulling them through that way, or are they pulled through Comcast or another methodology? That's all to be determined when you have your license. They talk about how to be able to tune into all of those games. Um, but also, just a thought is that there's only so much of this LED screen equipment in the region, and we know that Vancouver is doing this similar things here. And so, if you have relationships with folks who have those LED screens and whatnot, it probably behoove you to reach out to them and at least get pricing and find out if they actually have gear or not. One other one in an earlier presentation, this past fall we were talking about that it might also make sense that if as we get into trying to be able to take over a larger outdoor space in working with somebody who does fundraisers or galas and those kind of indoor events, or even event producers of people in your community who put on
Mhm.
the Chinese parade, or the whatever the
Mhm.
whatever those kind of large events, they may have some expertise to be able to help you be able to put on outdoor events in that venue.
Yeah. And I didn't do a quick scan of the businesses in the that registered for this, but if you're from across the state, every chamber has an online business directory where you can search by some of these categories of vendors. And then there's another association called National Association of Conference and Events Professionals.
Mhm.
And so they also have a robust, they have local chapters and things like that. Those are the places to find those partners to help you with that. Okay, there's some questions and some nuances, so be as broad in your answer, as inclusive in your answer as you can. There's no difference in rules, regulations, pricing for nonprofit versus for profit.
Nope.
And if I am a community organization and I want to host a watch party and I want to use commercial sponsorships to cover the cost but not ticket the event, can you tell me what my guardrails are on that?
You will fit into the commercial category because of the
Okay,
sponsorship. So
got
if your desire is to have no admission fees, it may affect the price of what you pay for that. And again, we won't know until you actually talk with the folks at FIFA about what the cost of those licenses are, with having admission or not having admission.
got it. And bars, restaurants, taverns, tasting rooms, it's all the same. It's all commercial. It's not broken. Like our state looks very much at what is served, and there's a different classification for what is served. We
Yeah.
shouldn't apply that classification to how FIFA looks at these commercial parties, right?
Correct. Yeah. And these, again, those parties would fit under the non-commercial version. And if you have less than 1,000 people, then you're not part of the special
Yeah.
commercial version. Yeah.
What if I tell FIFA I'm going to do less than 1,000, but I knock it out of the park and 1,500 people show up? And besides the stress of that, what's the
Yeah.
consequence of that?
That's a good question. This is back to FIFA police and FIFA jail. And who are the folks on their marketing team that is managing and being able to pay attention to these things in the same breath they're producing 104 games across the three countries. So that's unknown at this point.
Okay. What are the rules about selling Team USA men's merch?
So it's this is all about affiliation piece. So if you and get back to exactly how this. So in the kind of the trademark side of things, this was not selling or contesting merchandise or tickets featuring the FIFA 2026 logos, but the my again the wording that I have in this doesn't cover the men's team specifically. And again, is this gear that they bought or was donated to them, and then they're looking to sell it or resell it like they're a retailer? And at some level, if they're a retailer in the city of Seattle, you have to go through the city of Seattle's, all of their small business rules.
Okay, great. Thank you. We've talked about FIFA Jail a couple of times. If someone has a flyer, a promo, an event, there's nobody to run it by through permission. They need to use the best guidelines from your playbook. really take advantage of this branding that Visit Seattle has created. Um, and then we'll have a playbook. We have a section on marketing, but there's no approver of this. So you really do need to use your best guidance based on the resources that have been created for you, correct?
Yep. Yeah, to the best of our knowledge. And again, no, that I've applied for a couple of these um, licenses and have not heard back from the folks at FIFA. And I've asked specific questions around pricing and have not heard
Yeah.
back from them on that. So it's possible when you put your information in, it kind of goes into the black hole for a while and then eventually comes back out. But again, we don't have any information of like when you receive this, it'll say you send your stuff to this place. Again, we don't know if that secondary thing happens, but we know that these are the rules we should follow in order to be approved.
Okay. So there is no ETA on that. People need to follow through with the portal. Um, if you have funding from your municipality, okay,
Mhm.
so your municipality says, we're giving you organization X, Y, or Z funding to do this event, to host a watch party in our community. Does this count as a sponsor?
I don't believe so. And again, there's no competitive piece of the city of Renton being competitive with FIFA. So
Great.
yeah,
Okay, we're getting close to wrapping up. There's been some questions about links and access. Griffin did put in the chat to everybody some links. What something the chamber does is we record these webinars. We will send, if you were a registered attendee, you'll get this webinar. But also we host them on our resource page. We have a page dedicated to all of this. So all the webinars we have done are there. And the question was, can we send it out to if people? Yeah, sign up for our newsletter is one thing, and Lee will has talked about that earlier and put it in the chat. Sign up for our newsletter, and we push stuff out on a regular cadence of resources. But you can always be uh, looking at our page and pulling stuff and sharing it with your industry, your clients, things like that. Okay, this is a fan zone question.
Hmm.
So this will probably be, I don't know this one. Are fan zone cities handling their own designated funding for creating marketing plans? What is the best way to get in contact with these individuals? I do know it's being handled at the local level. Is that your understanding as well?
it's handled at the local level. I know that
Mhm.
there's a person at the local organizing committee, the local local organizing committee that has reached out and is working with each of those individual communities. I believe I want to say it's Leo, but it might not be him. But it's something we can a quick phone call. We should be able to find out who the right contact is for that.
Yeah, yeah. So just for folks' general understanding, there's 9 fan zones. Local government was told you are the fan zone. The local government's deciding what's our event going to be, who's going to run that, and it's different across the state. So sometimes you start with the local government and find out who they've designated as their person on that. Or their third party entity. We've heard of tribal organizations, we've heard of chambers, we've heard of visit organizations. So it's different in every fan zone. So to get to wrap up, we're going to send stuff out to you. Give us 24 hours. I do uh, there was a question. Leo's information. Leo may not be the right person. It might be Dylan. If
Yeah.
we'll give you the LOC's page and you could look, they have a way to communicate with their staff and we'll make sure that's in our resource. But if you just look up FWC Seattle26.com, I think, or .org. I can't remember off the top of my head. There is a staff page. So I'm going to go back to something else here. Oh, this is on Fox and Telemundo, right?
Correct.
Right. So if you can stream that or however, whatever platform you can figure out how to watch that, that's how it will be there.
Mhm.
I think that's it. Lee, anything you want to close with?
Nothing from me, just a thanks to everyone for joining us and thanks to our speakers and Seattle Sports Commission.
Yes,
Thank you.
appreciate it, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.